Avanti popro alla riscossa, mangiare rossa, mangiare rossa.
What's up? How you doing? How's life?
What's up? It's going well. I'm happy. I feel a little honored. I feel
What the fuck? I feel
appreciative
honored.
to get the invite. To chill because and that's where I don't know. I watch too much Trump, so the glaze fest is necessary. But no, I mean a lot of like your YouTube videos and stuff that you've been doing for years now. I think very very helpful and so it's kind of cool just being like, oh shit, like.
Thank
Well,
you.
look
That's
at me, you know what I'm
very
saying?
kind of you
So,
to say, but right back at you. Like I'm the new kid on the block here on Twitch. I'm coming in, sneaking into everybody's territory to an extent. So thank you for welcoming me so openly. And by the way, chat, who doesn't know, like I think literally my second or third stream, Struggle immediately rated me and stuff, gave me like a lot of boost in the algorithm and helped me, partner or associate, whatever was the first one. With Twitch much easier, so that was genuinely very kind of you.
yeah, no, we're all here just trying to spread around like the $13. That's the communism, So, but no,
Ironically.
it's there's I and like and that's where like the online space. There's like it sucks a lot. So just like finding people or seeing people who don't suck is you definitely want to boost that and raise them up.
Absolutely, and especially like I'm pretty sure it happened to everyone. You to an extent misjudge someone, and you're like, okay, they're in it for the cause or whatever. Also, inadvertently putting bread on their own table that doesn't hurt anybody. But then you interact with them 3-4 times, and then you see the most random tweets about you or most random fucking shit calling and name calling and so on. You're like, okay, I am a horrible judge of character, and I should never trust myself with any of this ever. Were you ever in any of this like online drama shit? Like, did
Okay,
you?
yeah. Um, so there's two cases I think of online drama that I guess have been sucked into
Mm-hmm.
because I try and avoid this shit like the plague. Um, but early on, and this is where before like it was like left link vets since it wasn't struggle 4 yet, but there was like a, a, we had a shit ton of mods and there was like a mod uprising
What?
because one of the one of the people was talking shit to somebody else online and there's just like all this fucking nonsense going on and yeah there was there was like this like they had started their own Discord and they tried to
To coup you, but they can't
like
coup you because you're the face of the stream. They can't like
well,
be a bunch
yeah,
of.
and also just like posting on Twitter about they don't watch them and all this type of stuff, and it was just like, yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't work, but that was kind of like the first. It was the first. That was the first Twitch drama, but then it was a run-in with the Sex Pestiny that. Where I used to do a little game show watching C-SPAN and doing bingo, and I know it sounds kind of fucking weird, but it was a good time. And yeah, he actually had a show on. He actually made it onto a C-SPAN show, and a lot of people ended up calling in, and that's where like I had no part in any of the issue, but like all the C-SPAN calls were just like ripping into shit because he is a fucking bad person,
Very.
and but then his community was like weaponized, they just targeted me, even because we were watching it, and yeah, that was that like fucked with the stream. Like they had gotten like copyright strikes, levied against, and then like those counted up. Like I got the whole stream taken down, like the whole channel was taken down. Had to get like a lawyer that like knew
What the
people
fuck?
at Twitch to, all this shit just to get the channel back. So yeah, and outside of that, I really try and avoid like any of the streamer drama. Like, I don't. I mean, there's like one main streamer drama going on right now, but the antagonist in that issue, you can't even type his name in my chat. Like, it's just banned. Even the guy I mentioned earlier, banned. I don't like. I try and avoid any and all drama shit because I'm old. I got gray hairs. You know what I'm saying? I'm just too old for this. Like, come to my house and then do something. But,
exactly.
Like,
when this whole like lawsuit thing began, I like to joke with chat that as silly as it sounds, but I missed the Logan Paul era where they would just fucking box. Like, what kind of a fucking flex is, bro, stop talking shit or I'm going to send my lawyers at you? Okay. A small amount of like toxic masculinity that I like unironically miss. Like, what happened to people just fucking beating the living shit out of each other? In my opinion, it's a better alternative to constantly be passing lawyers and lawsuits and contracts and shit at each other. It's fucking pathetic.
Well, I think part of it, is like, I do think about like 90s rap beef where, like it's all planned out by the labels and like people start chirping, versus, on radio shows and stuff like that. And this whole dust up gets cooked up and you profit off of it.
Yeah.
And, like there's a lot of it that's just that kayfabe, like just fake fighting just to get, drive up numbers. But then like, yeah, when you start bringing in the lawyers and like all this nonsense, because like, what's the point of starting drama if you're stopping the ability to monetize the drama, right? Because you get to the point where like, you can't even you can't respond to my content. I'm going to do a copyright thing. I'm going to get the lawyers involved, all this type of shit. Like, yeah, so it is just, I have no idea, and like to what end? To what end?
The end is the drama is a goal in on itself, and you hit the nail on the head, as the Americans say. It's to maximize profit out of it. And I'm pretty sure that even when they do the lawsuits and so on, and you can no longer mention my name, just the fact that they're saying they're going to do a lawsuit brings even more people over to check out the drama, because now it's intensifying. Now it's spicier and spicier and spicier, and then basically the financial model starts reproducing itself. Before we continue, how the fuck do we share chat? I thought it would automatically share chat, but I don't think we're sharing chat.
I don't know.
Mods, help your unks out. Come on.
There it is. There's a button there. Start sharing chat.
Share
okay,
chat.
Got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, now it's shared. Is it shared? Yeah, now we got like a nice button on the side. Okay, chat is on. Okay, got it. There we go. Is it working now? I think it's working. Are you melting together? How do you call your people? I call them child soldiers, which is very stupid. But the story is basically, we are waging an eternal war against advertising, and it's Twitch, so they're all children. So I just call them child soldiers. It's in bad taste, but I do not care. How do you call yours?
I think I just call them chat and then just start yelling.
Chat.
Yeah.
I respect that.
But no, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyone in my chat, please go follow Struggle 4. Obviously, everybody in Struggle 4s, do not follow me because I suck. Thank you again, Struggle, for coming on. And I completely agree with you on the drama shit. I am not as strong of a man as you. I have never participated, like ever, absolutely ever. Was my name mentioned, or did I like enter a particular fucking annoying internet beef with absolutely anyone at any point in this, if you can call it, career? But when it comes to, the unmentionable name, I will respect the rules of your chat so I don't get banned. With this whole thing, it was just, I treat it, and that's how I told it to chat. I treat it like, watching that super reactionary, and it's very good that it doesn't exist anymore. But it's like watching bum fights, right? Or like watching very old school circus where like you're not invested in like this seventh tier MMA fight. You're just watching it because it's the absurdity of it is entertaining. So that was a context through which I interacted with it. But at one point, it genuinely started feeling unironically wrong because of the themes that are being talked about, and the themes are an active fucking genocide. And most of the people that are talking shit against this liberal Zionist pitch and so on, they are doing so in order to dissuade as many people as possible from said liberal Zionist talking points and so on. So the intention is good, but at one point it gets so watered down, it gets so spread out that I started feeling like I'm making money off of an irrelevant internet beef that is talking about something that is very, very, very real and very impactful on real people's lives. So yeah, that made me tone it down, but it was fun while it lasted, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, and I want to be clear as well too. Is like anything that I I consider like so much of what happens in this little fucking internet box, like this is just entertainment, and like especially like for anyone with like any type of moral or intellectual honesty, wants to say true things, wants to provide new information or relevant information, at the end of the day, yeah, valuetainment, and yeah, people could do whatever the hell they want, just like I've never, for me, it's not even about like people shouldn't or should not, it's like I will lose my mind diving into that, and it's like and then that's just kind of it, because like a lot of times I kick myself, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll peel back the curtain a bit. Like I kick myself thinking, hey, I could be bringing in more money through these streams, and then that would allow me to do X, Y, Z, better in the community. And
but no, dude, even 100%. If you were caught with lolly-looking goblins in your folder, or any other 700 different potential, let's call them controversies, you would have more followers and subscribers. If I was caught in any of that shit, ironically, I would have more. That's the whole meme of cancellation or whatever. It's a very tired topic. We're not going to talk about it. But people that fuck up massively end up, like, because it's the fucking internet, end up profiting so much more from it. And because the two of us are respectfully, like, not to tap each other on the shoulder, but because we are trademark normal, we don't get any of that extra eyeballs on us, which is like, what should I do, like a very bad thing, like, so that more like that one literally starts thinking that way, it's the fucking market brainwashing you at the end of the day, because grow, it's fucked up.
No, and I mean, and I think like even in like the best case scenario where it's like, oh, if I just started like just doing drama content and I was making $1 million a month, what could I do with that $1 million?
Hey, you would be a millionaire.
Like that's where it's like, then just like as soon as you go live, it's just like, no, like there's no way. And you say like, hey, there's sometimes to talk about it, and like I just try and like avoid it, but it's like obviously it comes up, people can make jokes, but yeah, at the end of the day, like you said, there's something real and tangible, and I mean, people say like the moral fucking issue of our time, and I don't disagree too much. And that's the real thing, like that's what's real, and like people can do whatever you want, and if your want is to focus on important shit, well then that would lead you to not just do drama stuff.
Completely agreed. I think your story is extremely interesting. So maybe, your chat has heard it. but I would really love our chat to hear it as well. If you would like, that's usually when I do the co-streams or just have someone on that's not a Twitch streamer. That's how I like to start these out or whatever. So if you feel comfortable with it, obviously, your kind of political, your pathway to your current political persuasions, a small insight into the intense and beautiful life of struggle for, if you could give us.
Yeah, the mind of Marcus. So let's see here.
Where to start?
I mean,
so I saw the light as I was exiting my mother.
Yeah. I grew up in Ohio, in Columbus, and I was a dipshit. I played a lot of like football. So I'd say the first step was like when I was in the military, and so that's why I was even like, start like left flank vets, and we'll get to that. But for one, I feel like insanely lucky just to be like physically intact with only like minor disabilities, but also just my career not being sent into like any active war crime zones. But being in the military gave me a lot of perspective. And one day I was just wondering where I went. I had no idea. I was like, we're all fucking idiots. They take a bunch of kids and, let them play fucking soldier. But when I got back my second deployment and I had no idea like where I'd been, I'd start like just ask the question, where did I go and why did I go there? And if any person in the military starts earnestly asking those two questions, you end up with a lot of truth that doesn't come in the history books that they teach you at school. And so initially when I got out, I started that's when I started taking political science classes. I started working I ended up doing advocacy work, and then I ended up getting a staffing job for a member of Congress. And still, so like as I'm getting like under more political understanding of like what the United States government does, I'm also engaging in what I hope is ways to fix it. You know what I'm saying? And so like, not just with voting, but I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in government. And so, I end up working my way up. I get this job as a staffer for a member of Congress, and then doing the work of basically like there's a whole lot of solutions that are out there, but as the capitalist system just absolutely like puppets this government into whatever position it's going to end up in. Just absolutely recognizing that, and towards the end of COVID, or not, it was like really where, COVID a year in or so is when I ended up leaving, because that was when it was just like, oh, there's just no saving this.
Yeah.
If this isn't a moment where this government can unfuck itself in some type of way, like, I mean, like it was just, I got sick of doing nothing while people died,
Yeah, it was your breaking point.
Yeah. So, and by that point, I'd already been like organizing with other vets, doing like, Veterans for Bernie, so all of this like very liberal level, but highly engaged political work.
Still very important.
And
Don't undermine it, bro. Yeah.
But at that breaking point was when, it was like, oh, okay, there's something deeper to these problems as to why they, we are to where we are. And I'd say that's when just getting into more like socialism and communism and having an understanding of like what these things even mean in the nondescript, because we can't really know until we get there. And then I did the most revolutionary thing you could possibly do. I started streaming.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Here we are. Yeah. No, we started streams with a few other vets as just to try to way to like get the word out on certain issues, whether it's the military industrial complex. And for me, it was trying to bring an aspect of like no, I see where I've worked in government. I know how these things operate. Like, you should trust my experience, not just like my hot takes or whatever. And so that was kind of where we kind of just started. And they had rest of them had to move on and get jobs and shit like that. But I was able to make it. I made it through the gauntlet, So and that's kind of my story, I guess.
And good for you. That's a beautiful story, and I'm very glad that you came to the conclusions that you came throughout it, because you had like 500 different points in which I believe like 95% of people would just focus on their particular problems, their more simplified view on why certain events transpired throughout their life, and never I guess the word I can use is attempt to develop a more comprehensive understanding of the world. So there's a lot of drive, there's a lot of need that one has to have within them in order to get out of the military, and then mainstream American politics, etc., etc., etc. You basically had 500 hurdles in front of you that you overpassed in order to become as class conscious as you are, which makes it which makes you, chat, no fucking excuses, right? The fact that chat is, they're already very progressive, etc., etc. But if a veteran that also used to be a Dem staffer can gain proper class consciousness, then unironically, absolutely everyone can. So no fucking excuses ever. But help. Go on.
Oh, 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Raise your sound and lower mine. Okay, 1 second. I gotta even out our sound.
Yeah. Take your time.
Okay. All right. Hopefully that's.
And also, if you can, I'm getting flip me horizontally. Flip me horizontally, because I look up, like the way I set up my camera, I look very. You go right click on the camera, and then you go flip horizontal. Please, just for me. Like literally. Okay. I know I'm being an asshole. Not an asshole. I'm being a needy little bum. But please.
Boom. Okay.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, now I can see myself the way I am.
Okay.
That is the true guy in mask, which is always so fucking awkward.
Which, if you could as well, because that's where it's like, I never too much thought the point of trying to find the backstory to someone that wears a mask. But for as much as you're willing to tell about, what made you put on the mask? No, but your little backstory as well, if you could. The larger backstory, I can speed through, but the mask in particular is because on Twitch you got to show your fucking thing. I was successfully completely anonymous when I'm doing the deprogram with JT and Hakeem, and fully anonymous on like the YouTube channel and so on. But I really wanted to start streaming on Twitch because I really liked it. I managed to get out of my corporate job and so on, so I wanted to get on here, but I wanted to keep the anonymity as much as possible, because the part of the world where I live in, having very openly voiced leftist perspectives. I'm not saying that it's safe in the United States or whatever, but here, because it's much smaller countries, much smaller communities and so on, and much let's call it better organized and hyper-focused right-wing organizations, just for personal safety. That's number one. And number two, more importantly, I'm, for those who do not know, I'm from the Balkans, this like southeastern little weird region of Europe. Not Europe according to Western Europeans, but I don't give a shit. Even better if I'm not part of Europe. I'm from another Balkan country, and I'm an immigrant in another Balkan country, so I don't have citizenry, And right now they're doing like the 3 to 4 year process of basically checking me out before they give me citizenry. So if they found that I have, insane communist terrorist on internet, the chances of me getting citizenship or potentially being deported are relatively high. So I'm at the very least going to wait out the passport process. And then at some point later on, maybe take off the mask, even though at this point now the mask is becoming part of the fucking image, even though it's career suicide, because
like I'm never gonna, my dream is, 1K Andy or whatever, which I think is achievable at some point. But if I can be honest with myself, I'm not going over 1K Andy with the fucking balaclava on my fucking head. It's absurd. The optics are absolutely absurd. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. My communist past, though, is like, growing up in a post-socialist experiment born right after, to an extent, right after it ended, under unironic bombardment. For a couple of years, because when Yugoslavia was falling apart, there was inter-ethnic conflict, then there was the NATO intervention and so on. But I was relatively young, a small amount of traumas, but my parents were lovely and they managed to minimize those as much as possible. For as much as possible it is when you're hiding in bunkers and shit. But afterwards I was growing up, and throughout teenagehood, I participated in that age-old classic of hardcore self-orientalization, where I was like, dude, the reason we are so fucking poor is because, we are culturally inferior, we are just stupid and lazy and prone to criminality and so on. If we were more like these well-developed, white Western and American civilizations, maybe we would be able to, quite literally lift ourselves by our bootstraps. And I blamed a lot of the current problems in this, one could even argue, freest of free markets, which was Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, in the post-socialist states at that time. I ironically blamed all the problems on the previous socialist experiments that were developed, because, in my opinion, like the pinnacle of Red Scare propaganda, which was developed obviously in the United States through decades and decades and decades, was very well exported to these new places in which capital slowly seeped in. So ironically, people that were communists up until yesterday, their grandchildren were educated on finding the big bad almost exclusively in socialist ideology. So yeah, a combination of we're just fucking stupid Balkan Slavs, barbarians, blah blah blah, self-orientalization, and combination of reactionary opinions on the good old socialist experiment. And I became this very cliche, like young, annoying, right-wing libertarian, free markets above all, bro, like the homeless deserve it, why don't they just buy a house, the fuck, et cetera, et cetera. But it was always, fed by the American movie, by the American ideal, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens when I'm second year of university, in order to pay off my student loans and shit, they have this program where they basically ship you off to the United States to clean toilets, work on construction or in kitchens, called Work and Travel. So I went on this to finally go see America. It was going to be a beautiful place. I see proper way of life. And one day I live there as well. I fucking go there. They fucking work you for 12 fucking hours. They call you by your nationality because they don't want to learn your fucking name. The fucking white dudes come and talk to you with the most insane fucking racial slurs about your other colleagues that look different because they think you're going to associate more with them. You talk to, even more privileged people, less privileged people that you work with in those particular places. And they're like, no, dude, I'm doing 3 jobs. No, dude, I'm doing 2 jobs. I'm like, but you have house, you have car. And they're like, yes, but on mortgage, it's not mine. It's the fucking banks or the rest of them that are not so lucky. They are renting everywhere that I need to go, because obviously I'm now working travel in that motherfucker. I don't have a fucking car, but I'm like, normal civilized country has bike lanes. No fucking bike lanes. Everybody's fucking trust. You can't walk anywhere. I go get a fucking beer. My house is fucking 17 kilometers away. There's fucking homeless people everywhere. People dying of fucking fent overdoses literally on the ground. I'm like, is this the free market capitalist utopia that was basing everything on?
Greatest country in the world.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's the greatest country in the world.
We just had a little coup for 10 years, basically like paramilitary fucking insane generals, war leaders were fucking, using shit, or the fucking mob. And I prefer my shithole over whatever the fuck this is, right? And then I realized, okay, maybe free market not that fucking based. And this Karl Marx guy that I learned about in my, freshman political science, like intro to post fucking class, Karl Marx talking about this class consciousness shit. I was like, this kind of makes fucking sense. So yes, A Slav from Eastern Europe, post-socialist country, had to go to America to become a fucking commie. I don't know what's more ironic than that, my friend.
No, that's fantastic. Though, yeah.
But yeah, the mask because I'm a
Do you
coward.
say?
Yeah. What?
Do you say which state did you go to in the States?
I went to first time I went to was to Maryland, and then I traveled for like 15 days to New York, to Washington, and to Chicago and to Baltimore. Yeah. But I worked
Okay.
I worked in Ocean City. This fucking, oh my fucking god, it sucks, dude. It's like fucking, I don't know, just very annoying, overly needy fucking white trash people that was serving all the fucking time.
Yeah.
They were like, I do repeat it, brother, repeat it. I can't understand your bloody fucking English or type shit. I don't even know what accent I'm doing. Even though my English was on this level back then as well. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Ocean City, good lord. That's oh wow. Fantastic. That's great. That's great. That's fantastic. That's
like there's other like side stories, you know, you're raised on Americans complaining about minorities, this, that. I go there, the only people treating me like a fucking human being are people that don't look like me. And so, you know, question mark doubt on that aspect of what I've learned. That the apartments we're renting are little cardboard fucking walls. There's no fucking, you guys ever hear of fucking bricks? I'm constantly hearing my like 10 other roommates fucking each other in the other room, and I have a triple fucking shift, which is literally illegal back in the, you know, 7th world country that I'm coming from. Nothing made sense. So I ironically got so de-radicalized from capitalism that it turned me into a communist, because they're like, this is obviously not fucking working. They are working 2 jobs in the wealthiest country on planet Earth, and all of the shit that they have is on mortgage if they are lucky enough to be able to afford a mortgage. How is this a system that works again? The fuck? So yeah, I just completely, I was like, I'm out of here, bro. And then I went to the States like 9 more times because of different corporate world, blah, blah, blah. Never changed my opinion. I saw the, you know, upper end shit, like, you know, when they take you out, you know, I entered the corporate world afterwards, blah, blah, blah. All of that shit was also like fucking meh as well. Like even the more privileged lives or like more privileged experiences, obviously I'm not talking multimillionaire type shit, was also like comparably, in my opinion, not worth all the expropriation of suffering both to, you know, colonized countries or to its domestic, you know, impoverished masses. I was like, the cool shit isn't even that fucking cool. Clubs closing at 1 a.m. What? This is why we are fucking.
No, that's okay. So something that like a lot of people don't think, right, is like they talk all this freedom nonsense, but the States is a conservative ass country. You know, especially when it goes like Europe, you know, like all over the fucking world, whether it's drinking age, whether it's how late do the bars stay up. Like we are just a giant fucking church with, you know, as when it comes to doing cool shit. But also in it's like the structure of society, right? Like where, like you're saying, like so now, you know, like my mom's spot is you know, it's in the suburbs. And I fucking hate that place because it takes 10 minutes by car to get anywhere, whether you want smokes or a beer or just to see something, right? And it's like all of these, you know, and it's like as a kid, I never knew what I was missing. You know, like you just ride your bike, you find a field, you play some sports ball, and then like you fucking go on the next day. Hearing about other like, and not just like teenagers, but like, oh shit, there are people who grew up where like they're like 10 or 11, they hop on a train and them and their friends are going to like see shit all around fucking town. And I like that was never a fucking thing. And that's not a thing across any of the United States. Like no kids exist like that outside of like New York City or like maybe like DC or some shit. But no, the United States sucks. It just sucks and it's not worth it. It's definitely not fucking worth it.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. That was the only like small amount of doubt I had in me. I was like, okay, my only experience was, with so-called low skill. This is again a reactionary term, but why am I explaining this? Like both of our chats are smart. So quote unquote low skilled labor. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's from a corporate powerhouse, or I'm like the guy in the fucking suit that's gonna get very cool. Bro, you have to go to nothing against strip clubs, but you have to go to a strip club in order for you to be able to drink till 4 a.m. Like, is this the cool country? As you beautifully put, it's a fucking church. It's literally a church. But let's go back on, so I don't do too many of my rants. Let's go back to an extent to the previous topic we were talking about, and especially this is like super subjective for me as a non-American. So I'm gonna pick your brain. Help a non-American out here. How strong is the sanctification of veterans in the United States? Today specifically. I mean, we're all grown up on movies with heavy "I fought for your freedoms" and "thank you for your service" rhetoric, which I'm guessing you'd agree were absolutely brilliant marketing hooks for well-intentioned young men and women. But yeah, is that pitch still working today, or is there a different pitch? How's that whole environment?
As far as actual like recruitment numbers, those things are a little bit hard to track because the military only puts out what they want to put out. So a lot of times any like the actual like released information and data on recruiting, it's when they're meeting their recruiting goals or very close to meeting, so it's not something that's too embarrassing. All that to say, there hasn't been any like real official numbers in the past like 3 or 4 years. It's not that I've seen. So if that's any hope, but I think in a lot of ways that tide is shifting, but for different reasonings and different populations. Obviously, with the rise of the right in the nationalistic sense, the idea of serving the United States military isn't as desirable because there's also the I guess just the fact of like they're unwilling to want to do anything for anybody else.
Oh,
So,
wow.
like the selfish and nationalistic focus is now overcoming, a colonial dominance type of sense. Why are we sending our troops to go die, blah 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 blah, instead of keeping them home and safe, and this is where even Trump it fashions himself. He talks and speaks as if he's going to be making peace and all this type of shit. And this is something that might actually drive some recruitment if young MAGA confused fucking kids are thinking, if Trump won't send me into Iraq,
Yeah.
Trump won't send me on like a George Bush war on terror fucking bullshit. I I think we all could find some flaws in those arguments, but that's one part. But then also there is a broader sense of information, and so just Zoomers in general, and then what is it, Gen Alpha after them? I think they have a much
Not beating the
like,
Ankh allegations. Sorry, yeah.
yeah. They got a much better understanding of what the military does, and this is a completely aside from like just like optics or people's opinions. There's a healthcare situation where they started tracking like healthcare, interstate. So basically, nationally track certain healthcare, and one of those is with like mental health medication. And so one of the things that's actually very much like restricting the ability for the military to recruit in the States is the wide use of, behavioral and mental health medication that's been given to American children because it's
Holy
basically
shit.
an automatic disqualifier.
Yeah.
So
You think
it's
they
like,
might change that? And then you just,
I think that, they and like they are. That's like something that people within like the military policy realm keep like bringing up.
Like, hey, in the
But it is
Wehrmacht,
kind
they
of
were
a
fighting on amphetamines. Why can't our children do the same? Yeah, they're good.
yeah, no, it's child soldiers. Listen, y'all know, okay? You all know. But and so yeah, I think there's a few ways in where, but that the thank you for your service culture still very much exists. Does that translate into like more recruiting like it did probably like 20 years ago? I don't think so, but but this is just my opinion. Like the data on this stuff is, it is hidden in the Pentagon. And
Yeah.
we can't really know until you start seeing like articles and stuff like that are reporting on, either the recruiters are going on vacation because there's so many people who, and this where like the desperation on like the economy is something that drives enlistments quite a bit. So yeah, it's either they're going to start seeing that, or you start seeing articles about how insiders are worried about being able to fight China with the so low numbers, and like yeah, where that sits, I have no idea. But it is still, as far as like just troop fuckery in the States, it is still a thing. It's still annoying.
But does it
'Cause I
drive
remember
as
even,
much
like,
as back in the day is a question, man.
yeah, which there's like on your ID, I used to have my driver's license and I had like the veteran, those, and every time I go to buy beer, they look at it, thank you for your service, and it's just like this insane fucking thing of I just want to buy some beers.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't.
but everybody next to you, especially for example, if it's a younger kid, sees you being interacted with on this like as an elevated, respectable member of
Yeah.
society, and they tell themselves, "Yo, I want to experience." It's a borderline pyramid scheme marketing strategy where you basically outsource it to the wider American civilian population to constantly reaffirm just how enlightened and based basically as fuck it is to go and serve. From that perspective, that's
Yeah.
why I call it like a smart pitch, because I, to an extent, don't really see it in most of the rest of the world. Funny enough, I see it a lot in China, but in China it's a weird thing where everybody wants to date the soldiers. Like soldiers get wives really easily,
nice.
but that's a whole fucking thing.
Hell yeah.
There you go, America, if you're listening. State
Hold on,
mandated.
I gotta go enlist again.
State mandated waifus for every veteran, but yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It is. I take all my surveys from one incredibly objective, government-supported survey mechanism. Is called TikTok. I don't know if you've heard about it. And
Yes.
there's been
Familiar.
a bunch of relatively viral, videos where it's basically probably he got reprimanded for it later, but basically a soldier or a kid, it's very obvious that he's very young, and he just walks around his base and asks, I don't know if you've seen it, and just asks his comrades and shit like, are you happy in the army and why did you join? And every single one of them, and I've seen like 5 of these videos, which is at that point probably 40 to 50 people, and they're all like, no man, it fucking sucks. Why did you join? Because it was fucking broke. Why the fuck do you think I joined? And he goes from person to person. And I'm expecting at least one guy to say, because it is my what is it? My calling, myself. No, which in other countries you would see.
No.
There, I guess that pitch is disappearing. Sorry, please, yes?
No, they call it the poverty draft. Yeah. But I've seen there's a few of these, those TikToks that I've seen. At first I thought you were talking about like a Chinese guy doing it, so I was like very interested in like, oh yeah, people were like, it's dope, I'm great, and they started like doing donuts in their brand new car. But no, that's the one especially that I remember is like the question was like, if you could, what would you say to your recruiter You know, the person that, you know, signs you up for the military. What would you say to your recruiter if you could see him? And it's like,
Oh, holy shit.
fuck you, eat
Fuck
shit.
you.
Why did you lie to me? You know, like it's just complete disdain. You know, and yeah, that's the thing is that they exist, but I mean I could probably think of maybe like 2 people out of the hundreds that I'd served with in the same unit that were actually like, you know, proud of the states. And this is all just, you know, dipshit propaganda, you know what I'm saying? We got lead in the water and fucking plastic in our food. So but yeah, for the most part, it's just, I mean, for me, what made me join was I was like bartending in Columbus at the time and spending most of my time like more drunk than sober. I woke up one day fucking with just wads of cash in my pocket from like the work from the night before, but one of my tires was completely like eaten up, not just flat, but like I just drove home on that motherfucker, and I was just like, oh, this is not a good life for me. I'm gonna kill myself. And then like I was like, and so what's a safe one is to join the United States Marine Corps. That, you know, so it wasn't completely smart, but like literally it was just like I'm paycheck to paycheck, just slinging drinks for cash. And if I keep doing this, I'm gonna end up wrapped around a pole, you know, driving drunk. And so, like, let me just figure something else out. And then, like, that you know,
Completely.
and so much of it too was like I had family members in the military, so you know, it was just kind of like, oh, well, this is where we can go in order to like just have a steady fucking gig for a few years and then figure it out. And for so many, as much as it sucks, like that's what it is. And a lot of veterans they get out of the military and actually regret leaving, not because of any type of patriotism, but solely because you got 2 guaranteed paychecks. The housing is actually affordable. I mean, whether it's got like black mold and shit like that, like that's one thing. But when you look around the states, there's not many great fucking areas. But you've got healthcare. Your kids have like a good public education. You know, like, and these are things that once they leave, like, then you're just, you know, then you become the 2 to 3 fucking jobs to be able to make ends meet. And so yeah, that's
there was a
it's like
bearded
double-edged
guy,
sword
remember?
where it's like
Santa Claus looking guy. I think he called it like material conditions. I think it's called, right? Like, it sounds kind of like applicable to like most particular lifestyles which people don't actively choose but are pushed into because of, again, material conditions. I don't know what kind of materials he's talking about. Wood, gold, tree, but yes,
aluminum.
Nerd shit. Yeah, some nerd shit, bro. Like I only work for whoever gives me the material of beer and Xanax or some shit. That is the future of the U.S. Army. I'm kidding, but
I mean, it's probably closer to there right now than they'd want to hope. But
yeah, let's.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's as far as the U.S. military. I think that especially where the danger is, though, there's like the technology, like the AI. I don't know if you heard of this company. What was it, Anduril?
Yeah, and Palantir, and yeah. That's the scary shit. Yeah.
Yeah, some of these tech bros are like legitimate, like comic book villains come to reality.
And they're like the eventuality to an extent, because like, you know, like, I don't know, 150 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea that you would outsource, you know, the production of gun, tank, plane, warship to private enterprises was absolutely insane. Then the military-industrial complex, the profit incentive, you know, reaching into the pocket of this incredibly, what they realized at the time, profitable endeavor, war, created the modern military-industrial complex. Obviously, this is a massive oversimplification, but the LDR. So what's what's stopping us from thinking that, again, the private market, be it a corporation, a private entity, isn't going to at some point start thinking about, why don't I also convince the state to outsource the management of war, the full-on logistics of war, the you know, the private sector does, all its parts, but at the end of the day, it's a state-issued soldier that carries the gun, and it's a state-issued general and major and so on that directs the playing field. But the beauty and the horror of the market is that they find themselves in being able to co-opt every single aspect of what the state does at some point, because, profit has to grow. So they have to, privatize healthcare, privatize the railway, privatize the fucking road. And why not privatize the general? Why not? Why do you need a fucking, meat puppet that is prone to mistakes when planning out a full frontal attack, when we can rent out our AI general or whatever the fuck it is for $700 million a month, of course, but still. And you're going to get a cut out of it, etc., etc. So just from my, as we like to say in my part of the world, as a complete amateur that is thankful, never interacted with, military strategy planning, etc., etc., but simply as, a dialectical materialism, nerd words, I know. It is inevitable for the private market to eventually eat up every single aspect of warfare as well. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think that this is where it's played out, over the past few decades. It's just been over, because you're 100% right of the one major switch is even having private corporations manufacture these things, but then it is the intellectual property. So there's a lot of things that the United States military owns but can't fix. And there's
Pyramid
certain
scheme.
vehicles. Yeah, it's something even the engine on the light armored vehicles, one of the unit that I was in that we'd ride around on these things. So the tires, brakes, transmission, that shit, the mechanics, the U.S. Marines that were mechanics, they could fix that. When it came to the engine was intellectual property. And so private contractors would have to fix certain component, mostly the engine components, because the United States government didn't own that. And when you get to, and that's only compounded now because the F-35 is almost completely intellectual property. That sucks shit, but it's got more, it's just increasing.
A chatter is asking, can they fix the engine themselves if they watch an ad? Imagine, press button to call contractor or fix yourself, but watch ad.
Yeah, but that's the after you fix the engine, you may or may not get drone strike to protect that intellectual property. So choose wisely.
Wisely.
Better just wait. But yeah, no, that's where it's just continuing on and on and on to where, yeah, like you said, to increase the profits, it just has to expand the scope of everything that it does. And I mean, deputized mercenaries or just these completely, government contract whole zones of a war fighting territory to a private company to just say, hey, you guys are in charge of this area and we're just tasking you out. And the Wagner Group is a fantastic example, of this great example of public-private partnership. But that's, with Eric Prince and, what is it, Triple Canopy and what it used to be fucking, I can't remember, but these paramilitary, these mercenaries, are just going to get more and more legitimized as the military-industrial complex realizes they can make more and more of a profit off of them.
Beautifully put. And let's move to a much more sunny pun intended, topic, because I hate because it's to an extent, people have particular experiences, and when you get them on the show or this way, I'm on your show, you're on my show, it's very interesting to hear about the experiences that they've had from a particular thing. But I also really don't like either when I see it on a podcast or on a stream or everywhere, when people to an extent tokenize the one thing that somebody is relatively known for. They don't research them at all, and that's the only fucking thing they're going to talk about. So with you, it's, for example, the military, blah blah blah. So I don't want to do it this way because I'm not a cunt, but also because I think you have a lot of other stuff that you can share with us, especially something that you recently did. You recently went to Cuba on a political visit,
Yes.
and I want you to tell us all about it. First, how did it happen, and then take it from then on.
So I would say, and I'm a big advocate of doing this really, really crazy thing of making sure, you try and go outside and do shit in real life. It was about a year ago when we started Struggle 4. And we had decided to go to the Democratic Party National Conference to what is it? Document the protests. We got some interviews with one of the delegates that was uncommitted, and we're able to interview a myriad of other organizers and activists that were engaged in that effort to just have Kamala Harris say stop genocide at that point. That didn't happen, but we did end up meeting a guy, this guy Mark from the LA Hands Off Cuba Committee. And this is he's a union guy, but also a teacher. He was a machinist for 20 years, and then he became a high school teacher. And yeah, he started this committee with this other lady, Brenda, and they basically, I think this is for their 5th delegation that they've taken to Cuba, and there's a few different from the States, and even just so obviously the United States since the 60s has had a embargo on Cuba, but it's essentially a blockade. So it's not just where the United States doesn't do trade with Cuba. The United States uses its dominance of the financial structure to bully any and all other countries again, from doing any types of deals with Cuba. So they've got the embargo, and then they've been put on the state sponsors of terror list as well. And that's all of them stemming from holding a meeting for some of the different Colombian militant groups to be able to broker a peace agreement with the Colombian government, which is, even continuing to this day. Yeah. So so bringing a peace deal, that's why they got put on the state sponsors of terrorists list, because they invited all of these organizations and the Colombian government to broker a peace deal in Cuba. God. And the Pope was there as well. So
a famous terrorist Pope. Yeah.
Oh, yes, the terror Pope.
Terror Pope. Hamas Pope.
So the Hamas Pope, yeah, which we've got 2 Hamas Popes in a row now. But
there's a tunnel underneath the Vatican. Sorry, please. I just couldn't help myself. I am 12 years old.
So
yeah.
Visiting Cuba for Americans isn't easy because of all of this oppression and colonialism that the United States government is expressing onto Cuba. But there are about 6 things, and it's education, humanitarian work, media and documentary stuff. So there's these specific things where an American can travel to Cuba. And so some of these, and so LA Hands Off Cuba Committee, there's one of those Cuba brigades. They basically kind of help out, do a lot of the paperwork, prepare people to be able to make a visit to Cuba. If you're outside of the United States, you could just buy a plane ticket and go, no big deal, but for us in the States, that's kind of the process and why. So what's interesting about the LA Hands Off Cuba Committee is that it's more focused with the CTC, which is the Central Trade Unionist Committee for the Cuban government, and how it basically exists, where you've got the legislature, but then you've got the union hierarchy that actually pair up to govern the nation. And the CTC is at the top of the trade unionists, and then you've got each of the different unions that cover down on all of the types of work within Cuba. So it was about 2 weeks. It was a 2-week trip. The first 5 days was a international trade unionist conference that the CTC held. So there's unions from Brazil, Panama, Mexico, Colombia, Uruguay, Dominican Republic. There was a contingent from the Amazon labor union from New York.
Nice.
And so there were these days of kind of some of it was learning about Cuba's governance structure, but then it was these discussions between international group of trade unionists over the issues within their specific countries, but also the broader issues that all the trade unionists are kind of dealing with. And a lot of it kind of those overlaps dealing with the normal stuff of pay, benefits, but then also the increasing in automation, and with what it's some of this AI software stuff, and how to start dealing with these things in an international and a more powerful position and context. So that the trade union conference was the first 5 days. Then there was May Day, which is
Oh yeah,
in
you're
the States,
so
we
fucking
don't have,
jealous. Yeah.
yeah. So in the States, we don't have May Day at all.
Yeah,
There's no
that's
International
wild.
Workers' Day. That's why they replaced it with Labor Day, just to completely try and cut ties with any international workers movement for United States workers.
Though I don't know if that's
But
better than what we have here, because what we have here made a lot of sense back when it was a socialist state. Small caveat, I'm interrupting. I apologize. The way it was here, for May Day, you would get 5 days off, which was awesome. But they were it's a worker state, so we want you to celebrate being a worker, which was usually, people go out into nature and just, barbecue, get fucked up for 3 days, which back then made sense because, you have a worker state. What are you, protesting against? But now that the tradition continued, and it ironically co-opts people going out on protests and so on, wanting, shouting for their rights, organizing, etc., because on May Day in Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia, and so on, people just get smashed. That's the fucking thing. But at least they still get days off. They still get days off, which is nice.
Yeah.
And they, get
So that's
nostalgic and start singing the old songs and shit. It's cute.
Yeah. So that's so this is the first time I've ever experienced any type of May Day in a mass sense. I guess the past few years.
So
just
jealous.
Hey, some of the lefty groups might go to some fucking bar or some shit like that, but there's not a lot there for us. But yeah, in Cuba, I think and they said there's 5 million. So at least that's a quarter of the country that had marched this past May Day. So seeing it in Havana, which is kind of the largest one, it was insane and surreal. I mean, there's this giant Jose Marti statue. You got the murals to Che. I mean, it is every internet commie's dream.
Yeah.
But
I think even commie in general, to go to a still existing socialist experiment, and walk with comrades that have lived the shit that we to an extent LARP is, it can be in a positive way radicalizing, giving you. Did it remotivate you? I'm pretty sure it did.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Because it's seeing something that it really doesn't exist, and it's a political dynamic of the States is that any of these political rallies, people represent the one person who's up on stage, and like what, like no matter like people running for president or whatever the hell, right? It's like you're there for that one person on stage. But seeing like all the groups of workers, and it starts with like the doctors, like the medical workers are like the first like wave, because like Cuba has a lot of pride, as they should, in their healthcare system. um but I mean, there's everything, you know, the doctors, and then you got different, linemen for the electrical grid, plumbers, the janitors, the cigar rollers and tobacco growers, other types of farmers, like scientists. It's like it's everyone, daycare workers, and they're holding signs for their job, as like they're, and seeing
So
that
cool. Hmm.
that whole society as represented as their gift to society, right? Their labor, their piece of the pie that they give to, and as a source of pride. Um, it is, yeah, it's incredible, and it's something that, like, I want nothing more than, for that, for my home, for my community as well. So yeah, it's a way, it's like a re-radicalization of seeing like what is possible. um and and that's where it's like I should say as well, is like that the embargo is it takes its toll, and you see that
Oh
there's a
yeah.
lot of issues with Cuba and its ability to just sustain, um, that are very, very noticeable. um, whether it's just like their ability to just like their trash trucks and their garbage cans are just like all run down and beat up. So it's like, so it's like you could tell their ability to rebuild or um, maintain old structures, right? And getting just concrete and construction materials to even sustain these things is
It's
it's just
brutal.
getting worse and worse, especially with
Yeah.
Trump. So there's I mean, there's people like, oh, did you want to stay? And it's like, yeah, I would have loved to stuck around, but it's like it's not like the embargo does its work, and that's
Massively.
also kind of like one of those things where um in some manner of ways of just having this understanding, especially if you're American, um, understanding what this embargo is doing to this country, that's our neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just right off the coast of Florida, and what we're doing to these people, whether you care about communism or not, is it's disgusting. And with all of the things, it's like there's a lot of shit that's like wrong with this world, but I don't. That's definitely one thing that I don't think I'll ever forget. It's like as far as stopping genocide, or and stop trying to get rid of militarism in this world. Cuban solidarity, I think, after being there, is something that's like now tattooed into me. It's so
As it should.
yeah, it was very, very powerful. But
Thank you for sharing the story. It
also,
was powerful for me and
yeah.
Chad as well. Please continue. Yeah. Hmm.
Well, and I just say like the rest of the trip was just kind of involved with dealing with different some policymakers, some civic organizations with like LGBT group, women's group, um, some of the students at the university and stuff like that. So it was like a jam-packed 2 weeks of just learning from the Cuban people and the revolution. Got to see the Fidel Castro Center. That was incredible. Very,
Yeah.
very modern. Museum that was like got all this like interactive shit that was like very, very dope. So yeah, I would say check it out. Do it if you can. Break the blockade all on your own. Oh yeah. And actually going back to veterans thing, but we did. That was probably the most impactful. I almost fucking forgot. Um, there were for when Cuba supported Angola that's fighting against defending apartheid South Africa. Um, we got to meet some of the Cuban veterans that had gone and fought in Angola. Some of them fought a few other African countries,
Crazy. Hmm.
and supported them, in like the colonial invasion. And being able to hear actual like stories and you think of like the thank you for your service, like these people fought in battles that ended up getting like Nelson Mandela freed and having an actual like good place in history
And then
of
seeing
like military
them
service.
existing in front of you, not on a documentary or a video, or reading their stories in the book, must have been really beautiful.
Yeah, no, and I mean they're like old, but they're just so like the badass, and that's where like it's like this like one of these like old ladies, she said, and she was talking about she had actually fought, she at 16 years old when Castro and the revolution had kicked off. Um, she went to the mountains and fought and then ended up volunteering to go to Angola. Um, and she showed this picture of herself when she was like younger, and she had all of these fucking medals. Like it was like fucking crazy. It's just like you see her now, and she's like 5 foot nothing. This like little sweet old lady. But she's like, yeah, and they're all like, we'd do it again. We'd go right now if they said, hey, the people need help. We'd go again. And that's something where I don't know that I meet one fucking American veteran, I don't know, U.S. veteran that says the same shit. Oh, like, oh fuck no, I'm never going back, and so yeah, it was a very very amazing trip overall, but also just meeting some of these people was huge inspiration, and I advise everybody like get to Cuba, get to Cuba, support them and their efforts of still resisting, but also there's so much to learn, there's so much to gain for yourself.
Absolutely, which leads me to a relatively controversial question, but one I still wanna ask as a extremely well informed comrade, of course, and as someone that has just gone there, seen what it is like on the ground, and not only as a tourist, but interacted with people that both organize and lead the country, etc., etc. So you can just on a human level, I'm pretty sure, gauge what kind of what the levels of let's use the word morale are at the moment. So what's your take, again, just you personal take on the future of Cuba? There's usually the three cliches. Maybe there's a fourth option. And again, three cliches coming from a progressive perspective, not from just a reactionary, either Gusano or wait, is that a slur on Twitch? I don't fucking care. Either Gusano or some other shit. Basically, the three paths are this: should it protect the revolution at all costs? Should it capitulate as the cost of sanctions grows higher and higher? Or could a final end to the sanctions be looming, which would allow the Cubans to fully develop their sovereign socialist project?
Yeah. So and this under Trump is getting worse. That's as everything that they can to make the blockade worse, they're doing so. So as far as any type of end, you know, I'd say as soon as the falls of the U.S. government, then the next day, right, you've got the embargo ended. And that's just kind of what it is now. I also, and this is just even knowing from more of my understanding of what the United States government is about, and not so much what the Cuban government is. I don't know that the Cuban government could do any type of compromise or capitulation to make the United States government not continue to just oppress Cuba, because even now it almost seems like in the mindset of the political elite in the United States, like Cuba is very much kind of getting like the Haiti treatment, which it doesn't matter even if they instituted a puppet government, you're still not going to be able to exist in any type of sovereign sense.
I was so hoping you would say that, because if you said something different, I would have you
Yeah,
cannot be more right.
I think that Cuba has crossed that line of and like they have, like they've crossed the line of revolution. You have completely dissuaded from like capital interest, and thus you must never be forgiven. Um, so
That's
I
why even
think that
arguments. That's why even arguments. Sorry to interrupt you. That might be coming from relatively well-intentioned liberals or even relatively well-intentioned socialists. That at one point after so many decades of embargo in the case of Cuba, start asking the question: okay, is it fucking worth it? This objective suffering that they're experiencing, not because of the Cuban government, but because of U.S.-led sanctions, almost exclusively at this point, U.S. sanctions that are imposed on the rest of the world. So yeah, the point might be well intentioned, but it's mute because it is a non-point. Anything other than Cuba's complete capitulation and becoming, I don't know, the fucking 51st state or an outright colony would not be an acceptable move on Cuba's side for the United States to remove the sanctions or to pretty much do anything about the normalization of their relations. So Cuba to an extent doesn't even have a choice that, to repeat myself, these relatively well-intentioned progressives might be putting out there as existing, because it does not exist.
yeah, and I think a good example is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has been a territory colony of the United States longer than most U.S. states have been territories, or states of the United States, right? And like this is where it's like where and it's and Puerto Rico's colonization doesn't start there, obviously. But as far as U.S. control of Puerto Rico as a colonial fucking part of its governance has been going on for over 100 years, and the idea and like if capitulating to the United States was such a good idea, then Puerto Rico would have a secure energy grid.
Yeah,
Puerto Ricans would be able to vote. They like that's where. So if there was any type of like compromise, right, that would be beneficial, then Cuba would have a worse, child mortality rate than Puerto Rico. Then
100,
Cuba
yeah.
would have a worse literacy rate than Puerto Rico. Cuba then would have a worse life expectancy. None of these things are true.
Yeah,
Cuba would have a less
Go on.
less employment rate, right? Same thing. Cuba, does better than Puerto Rico. It does better than the United States overall in a lot of these categories. And it is because of their revolution that they've been able to successfully resist the blockade. And yeah, any type of capitulation is only going to hurt their ability to fix their own problems, even with being closed off from the world, which just does create huge problems. And I'll say there's issues, right? Like every government, there are people, there's mistakes made and all this type of stuff. And I've talked with many Cuban people, there's even smart, politically, aspects where they admit these are where we could be doing better. These are, mistakes made in the past that we have to overcome, and, it's not that this like, oh, hey, you've got a utopia going here,
Yeah.
if not for the blockade. But, it is, they handle their issues much better, and they should be able to deal with their problems in a sovereign manner, and that's just it, So as far as where the routes goes, the United States, it's on the rest of it. The people, American, people in the United States, we need to get the U.S. government's claws off Cuba. It's on us. We shouldn't be saying a damn word to Cubans except I'm sorry and we're getting to work. That's what the take should be.
Beautiful point. I mean, if you the parallel with Puerto Rico is phenomenal. Even if you use examples of very active capitulation of, for example, even states that define themselves as socialist, people can disagree on this. I don't mind it, whatever the fuck. But late 80s Soviet Union, herder. You guys, destroy this system because it's no longer working, herder. You're struggling. You're losing the Cold War. Like, give up, and things are gonna get better. The Soviets do that, and you know what the fucking 90s were? The 90s were like law of the fucking strongest, literal fucking jungle, fucking child prostitutes, fucking mass starvation, fucking people freezing in their own homes because nobody's fucking managing the fucking heat system anymore. Half of the fucking hospitals closing down, 150 different examples, etc., etc. So if you want to look at a place that was like, okay, we lost, Cold War, we played it, we fucked up, okay, sorry, now, we're admitting you're big man. It got worse. It got 100 times worse after they admitted to being the quote unquote loser and destroy their own system. And let's close off with a question that takes us back to the good old US of A, brother. They tell me that my fucking accenting off of USA is not good. I don't give a shit. I'm dedicating myself to the trud. Yeah, brother, look at my goddamn, I'm about to fuck my own sister, brother. Yeah. I'm sorry. But yeah, brother. So, moving back to continental US. Can leftist organizations, do you think, because this, I think, is the main kind of discussion in our digital left sphere right now. So can leftist organizations or individual, propagandists like yourself siphon people from the Democratic Party? Or is any interaction with the Dems, even if it's their progressive wing, to be seen as capitulating to said Democratic Party? Or is there something, more pragmatic that can be achieved?
I
there?
think
Someone that's worked, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I'm asking.
No, and I mean, and I think that this is like one of the major questions, like when it comes to like the left in the States, and is to what degree, or if at all, is like working within or with the Democratic Party. And I think it's like currently in a gray area, because
what a diplomatic answer, sir. I agree. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, because and really, obviously, I'll tell you why. Where in one aspect you've got just local authority positions where the Democratic Party is either non-existent or incredibly weak, and in which case, and I want to be clear, like somebody who exists within an organization that they are actually, adhered to, like those principles within like a left organization, operating within the Democratic Party, that's one thing. I think that there needs to be an understanding of where we are ending is beyond the Democrats and Republicans, right? It has to be just seen as that. So these actions need to be seen as, I'm not just becoming a Democrat to become a Democrat, right? This position comes with a certain authority, a certain ability to wield power, and this is being done so in coordination with the other organizing that is done, right? That type of work within the Democrat or work with Democrats type of thing, I am 100% for. I think that people in their different localities, state by state, should have an understanding of where are the malleable points, where are the holes that can be exploited to quickly grab power and wield it toward people to the benefit, but not to the end of just becoming, 13th alderman of District 48 in some random town, right? Yeah. So, and then as far as like, then you've got the presidential politics of it all, which is always just a goddamn mess. Because state agencies, like, we don't have a national vote. We've got 50 different votes that, basically come together to add up, and So understanding, like, with that, there's a whole just different play of the presidential politics that, um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
at this point, I think it's kind of like a yes and,
Hmm.
it, especially as we can like look back to this last election. I think if like someone like if Cordell West would have decided to run in the Democratic Party, I think that things actually would have ended up a whole lot better for him because there was no anti-genocide option.
Yeah.
Even Marion Williamson, even Orb Lady was, fucking pro fucking Israel doing genocide. He would have been the only one that would have been able to be higher represented in the Democratic primary overall. I think he would have got a bigger splash. But this is only, this we can only look back and say, hey, this probably would have been a better option. As far as going into 2028, who I who could be someone actually representative of someone that could get behind? As someone that says like understanding understanding and agreeing with all the critiques of Bernie Sanders, I don't regret one day that I was organizing to get people to try and elect him in the Democratic primary.
You
I
shouldn't. I
think that
agree.
that would have been, yeah, a major shift, in some type of just like better, results for, that we could have been able to actually advocate and work towards in these states. Um, and who comes next? Who would be able to try and like galvanize the type of coalition that Bernie had? I have no idea. What that's
Yeah. Time
going
will
out to
tell.
2028. That's where it's like it's hard to say, but I mean, there's people who are in my community that yeah, that like Love I said, like going local, being able to run in races where you need like 1,000 people to vote for you, because that's where too is like these are people who are already working within their community and organizations. So you can't just like, oh, I'm going to run for something. You need to be able to be a part of something already, and then those smaller races are easily exploitable, easily gettable. Um, and that's something where I think, especially on the local, on the ground, just bringing relevance to socialism as a actual like political deed that people are operating official. But this is a optics thing, right? Where people not only they're going to love the organization just coming helping them out or starting a community garden or delivering meals to elderly, like any of these type of initiatives, community cleanups, whatever the hell you're doing, helping people fix their tail lights and change tires. There's a whole lot of effort that people are going to appreciate. They're not going to recognize political relevance until they actually see it, right?
Yeah.
That's where meeting Americans where they are, I think is part of the necessity of even entertaining, the Democratic Party as a whole. Um, but once again, it always has to be to the end of we are going past these bullshit party politics because I'm a one party state type of guy. Okay, I think just one workers' party is good. Any more than one party
Controversial.
is just bourgeois decadence. But no, that's yeah. I don't know.
No,
That's
beautifully
kind of
put.
my
Like
take.
using the Democratic Party as a means, not as an end. Absolutely, absolutely logical approach. The larger question there is, as you also put, how possible it is to co-opt any sort of limelight that one might receive by climbing through the hierarchy of the Dem Party. Versus how much of that can be co-opted back into the Democratic Party by utilizing you as a more progressive voice, etc., etc. And neither you nor I have an answer to that question, and I find it borderline like what word can I use? Like not anti-intellectual, but like simplistic for people who say that they have a direct answer to this, because the American project, the way it is set up right now, is this two-party system, etc., etc., two heads of the same snake, blah blah blah, all shit you've heard 700 times before. And potentially bringing progressive politics to such a place has never been done before. So the strategy that's going to work is, ironically, the strategy that's going to work, and only time will Time will tell.
Yeah.
And no matter what voice chat you're listening to that's giving you different particular pitches on what kind of strategy can be used in the United States, at the end of the day is quite literally like faking it till they make it. Like they're winging it because we don't know. Hedge your bets in this or that category, but properly hedge your bets by, as Struggle said, by touching fucking grass and participating, not just constantly consuming and being a commie or an anarchist or a demsots or a sotsdem or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. In your own brain and with your beautiful little hashtags next to your Discord account, but by actually manifesting that in the real world, and through that actually becoming becoming that thing that you believe yourself to be. Obviously, if you're able-bodied and so on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
If it's possible, I'm gonna do something very, very anti-internet comedy, and
Please do it.
if I could recommend a book, and
Oh,
this is
fuck,
especially
yeah.
for Americans, it's for people in the States. There's a book. It's called Neither Vertical Nor Horizontal: Organizing in the U.S. in the Modern Era or some shit. So it does cover up to, I think, like the first kind of like Bernie campaign, but basically the thesis of the book is a very much like anything and everything we can do as long as it is moving towards the collective goal, do that, because we have yet to figure out exactly what the secret sauce is going to be. We can look back to different movements. We can see how these coalitions operated, but obviously, we're not in a time machine. So it's like whatever comes next, especially post Red Scare, post McCarthyism. There's a lot of the engines of change that have been destroyed. And so how do those get built back is a question that we don't know. We just have to keep doing until it happens, and then we know. So yeah, I think it's like what you're saying is perfect, and that book, I think it's, especially as it pertains to the United States, and it goes into specifics and stuff like that as to the examples and the coalitions that kind of already exist, but where this goes from here and how it grows is going to be up to people getting outside.
Absolutely. I was gonna, wrap up this interview by saying thank you for coming and giving you all sorts of compliments. But right now, you disrespected me by telling my chat to fucking read, which is absolutely disgusting and anti-chat. Okay, it's bigoted towards the essence of the Twitch community, which is always being digital and only reading other chatters' posts. Okay, so
That's
very
all that's
reactionary of you, Struggle. But you said a lot of other brilliant stuff, so I will take it under consideration when we discuss it with NKVD officers later this month. I'm fucking around.
I appreciate
I pinned the book. I pinned the book. Go read the fucking book.
Oh,
yeah.
But no, I appreciate any mercy the tribunal will place upon me.
Son of a bitch.
I leave my mercy to the courts.
You fucking legend. Let's do the genuinely thank you for coming on. This was brilliant. At least I really enjoyed it. I would really enjoy doing this on a semi-regular basis, like unironically. I think it was a great conversation, and why not sharing chatters amongst each other, like trading cards, and on top of that, teaching them something and getting to talk to each other is genuinely, I think, a very good practice we should do as much as possible, at least here on Twitch, because that's the whole fucking point.
No, and I mean, and once again, I think there's been a lot of the content creators, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hate even like that fucking term.
I want to fucking kill myself when I hear it. Yeah.
But I mean, just and this isn't, and I like it never, like, especially I'm like way past the point of like trying to like create any type of beef, you know what I'm saying? But I do definitely want to highlight just how obvious it is for people who actually give a shit about a certain ideology, like, and and it shows. And so it's like all the work you're doing, and even if it is just like entertaining other lefties through their day, that's for me some of like the most rewarding thing. And like, just so props to you for very much doing the same, because I know we share a lot of this, a lot of the community, but also, yeah, just being able to like not become a complete fucking disaster of a person. Like this internet will just chew people up and like turn you into a complete like insane person. But
100%.
yeah, being able to like do what you've been doing for the past few years, and then make the switch to live streaming. You jumped in the pit, you're
To the real
crushing it.
game, to the it is objectively 10
Which
times more
actually-
difficult than any of the other shit. Like I am saying it. Podcasts are fucking
Yeah.
a lot of research, but easy work. Like you sit down, you record it for an hour and a half, you prepare, okay. But streaming, you do it's fucking it's fucking insane. It's unironically, I'm not calling it a difficult fucking job. You've had very fucking difficult jobs. I've had semi-difficult jobs. This is not a difficult job, but is it easy? I honestly, I cannot say it's easy. It's not the easiest fucking thing, but it's not difficult. It's 3 out of 10. I think that's acceptable, because we get a lot of flack. They think it's 1 out of 10 difficult. No, it is a 2 to 3 difficult, right? It's
yes. I'd say, yeah, I give it a 3, right below coal miner, right?
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
below coal miner.
Because we don't get to breathe beautiful air. I make it even more complicated with this fucking mask. I'm basically fucking dying every stream. Now it says we have a shared hype train. What does that mean? So like,
Oh, damn.
if they give us subs and money, like the hype train can go to higher levels, which is what I'm utilizing to tell both chats to subscribe. $6 a month or free through Prime and all of that beautiful shit.
Come on,
Yeah,
do
whatever.
the thing, shared chat.
Do the thing, share chat. Jokes aside, genuinely, absolutely brilliant time. Thank you for coming on. If we have any
shit.
fucking, fuck yeah, NB Radical, let's fucking go. And Mortal in this motherfucker. And Incarn and Jaeger from earlier. Okay, Jaeger again now. Very nice, very good. Twitch
Doing the thing.
Yeah, this was Twitch. If they really want to encourage people to do a co-stream, they should spend a little bit of money. Unironically, like if you have contacts, fucking pitch them this, because if people co-stream and then Twitch doubles every gift sub or whatever. So for example, somebody subs to you, and Twitch spends the $4 or whatever to send a sub to me, and vice versa. People would be co-streaming like fucking crazy, because it would grow both of their fucking things. But obviously they don't do that, so whatever.
No, that's because
Asking
what you
too
just
much
said
from
there
Bezos.
was also bringing more money to the streamers, and Twitch is vehemently against that. So that's
$100.
the only flaw in the logic there.
Absolutely.
But no, yeah, and we should definitely talk and do this again sometime, because I also, enjoy the conversation. Good questions as well.
I try.
The Cuba one, I was like, oh, this motherfucker's thinking.
Of course.
But
You're
yeah,
like, oh, another one fucking asking about all this fucking veteran shit. I'm gonna fucking jump out of a window. And then he asks an actual
which
no,
I'll
it's-
say I'm happy to do so, because that's, if anything, that is of good use of being a fucking veteran of Empire, is being able to hopefully tell people of how to not dissuade others about getting into it, which is a conversation that I'm always willing to have, of how to get your cousin or neighbor down the street, so that's something I'm always happy to do. And I kind of take it as a responsibility, for joining in the first place. So
Perfectly fair.
But yeah, what are you gonna do?
What you
live and
gonna do?
learn.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll figure something else out to we'll do another one of these.
This will go on Yugopnik
and-
Live, the tiny little YouTube channel that my beautiful mods and editors are pretty much running. I'm gonna put all your links in bio, etc., etc. So just keep
cool.
a
Thank you.
lookout to that, and maybe on Discord send me all the links that you would like included. It can be 100.
Okay,
if you want.
all our social medias and stuff.
Yes, very many links. Link very good. Many link even better. Oh, God
right.
damn it. Go forth and
Well,
multiply, or
Hugo-
don't. Your call. But have fun.
Yeah.
It's a fucking
Child
weekend.
soldiers, thank you for your service in chat as well.
Likewise, likewise. And if I didn't say it, if you're not following struggle, like the fuck are you doing with life? Probably struggling. You gotta do the same thing. Do the same thing. Make them become child soldiers right now. Send them over here.
Yes. Okay. Chat now. Even if you are a farter like me, you have to re-enlist into the child soldier fucking recruitment avenue. Follow Yugopnik. I that's where, for real, I do think, you know, we probably should have done this earlier, because I feel like when I look at my analytics, it's like 100% of your chat also subs to Yugopnik, and so it's I think it was a pretty good slam dunk one. Yeah.
Absolutely. We are like in the two of us in. Okay, this is all American shit, and I'm sorry if somebody is in it. If it sounds disrespectful, is it a polycule, a tricule, a ficule? Basically, what I'm saying is our chat. The two of us are in a polycule with our chat because we share chat. We don't share each other, but we share chat. What's that one called?
Not yet.
What?
I still gotta go.
Oh, absolutely.
I still gotta get to the Euro.
Look at that fucking couch. It is literally waiting for your fucking sweet ass. Okay.
Oh.
By the way, if you ever want to visit, genuinely, it opens. It's very comfortable. I'll by accident start streaming if it gets steamy. It's gonna be lovely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna JD Vance all over that couch.
No. Okay,
right.
no. All that material belongs to me, not to the couch. Okay, now we're overdoing it. Sorry, on the D program, I used to pushing this too much. Like, oh.
All right. Well, hey, on that note.
On that note.
No, y'all have a good day, and thank you again for the invite.
You as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again. All right.
Bye. Thank you. Have a great one.
Wonderful. A new child soldier. I mean, subscriber.
Well, that was awesome, chat. Hey, friends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to support the channel and the editor's hard work. And if you want more, join us live on Twitch 4 times a week. Click the link below and follow Yugopnik Twitch to get notified whenever we go live.